Hey guys, thanks for checking out the Ironman 70.3 St. George course info, tips and tricks, and Q&A. Speaking of Q&A, I have several questions that were submitted in advance. I'm going to get to those first, but if you have a question either that you've brought or you have along the way, feel free to submit that there via the questions tab on that GoToWebinar widget that should be on your screen. If I don't get to your question here this evening, I will follow up with an email response to you. I know you guys are tapering triathletes. Your sleep is real important, so I don't want to keep you up later than we have to. I'm going to stay here within our allotted time. So again, submit your questions throughout. If I answer it, obviously I won't send you a message. But if you have a question that doesn't get addressed here this evening, I will follow up with you via email in the next couple of days. I want to introduce myself. My name is John Mayfield. I am a full time triathlon coach. I am certified both by USA Triathlon at level 2 and Ironman U. And I've had the privilege of coaching hundreds of athletes from first timers to elites and professionals and everyone in between. My passion is long course racing. So I work predominantly with athletes that are racing 70.3 and Ironman races. And it's my objective to help each athlete I work with maximize their potential so that they can maximize their enjoyment of triathlon and get the most out of their training and perform at their best. So, headed on to race day, we're going to get some tips before we get started. Something that St. George is known for is cold water. I probably don't have to tell you that. Be working on some cold water immersion as you are able to in these days leading into the race. Basically, what we're trying to do here is just get your body a little bit used to what it's going to experience when you enter into that cold water at Sand Hollow. This can help offset some of that panic, some of that fight or flight response of when we hit that cold water. So that's really what we're looking to do here in this cold water immersion is just get used to being in cold water. So this can be done if you have open water or even a swimming pool that is not yet warmed up. You can use that. Things like an ice bath, you can do that as well. Cold showers, whatever it is, just acclimate your body, expose your body to that cold water so that when you step your foot into the lake there at Sand Hollow, it's not the first time you're experiencing that cold water. Get in a practice swim as you are able. There is not anything on the schedule or in the athlete guide that says there will be a practice swim. There has been in years past. So if that is available, I would definitely recommend heading down there to the lake and getting in a practice swim. Again, it's exposure to that cold water, so you'll know exactly what you're going to experience on race day. But it's also an opportunity to work on your sighting, see the course, see the transition area, walk through transition, know exactly how far it is from wherever it is that you're staying, from the downtown area to Sand Hollow. Again, you're going to have to take the shuttle out there that morning. So it's just a good idea to help you run through everything you're going to experience there on race morning. So again, if that is available, I would definitely recommend checking that out. Like with every race, I always recommend checking in early and then dropping your bike and your bags early. So, the earlier you take care of all these things, the sooner they're out of the way, the sooner you can move on to those other things. So, I would say as soon as you arrive in the St. George area, head down there and take care of check in, check out the expo, do those things, and then move on from that area. Likewise, day before the race, when it comes time to drop your bike in your gear bags, keep in mind this is going to be a little bit of a time consuming thing because you've got to go to two different places and they are about a half hour apart. So, my recommendation there is earlier in the day, go ahead and do those things so that, again, you can get on to those things that you're going to have to deal with later in the day. And if anything comes up, say you forget something, it's going to be a lot easier if it's earlier in the day to remedy that and lower your stress level from all that. Speaking of those gear bags that you're going to be dropping the day before, be sure to mark those. They will be sitting out overnight. Now, we are out here in the desert, so not a whole lot of humidity planned, probably not rain, but you just never know. So the only thing that is going to distinguish that bag from the thousands of others that look exactly like it is a sticker that's going to go on there. I've seen those stickers fall off. So recommendation is to write your number on a Sharpie as well. So, as mentioned, it is out in the desert. It is very dry. And like all races, it is critical that you arrive at the start line with a good level of hydration. It is that much more difficult to arrive at the start line fully topped off, so to speak, when you're out there in the desert, especially those that are coming. From climates that are not as dry as the desert, this is going to be an issue for you. So I always recommend those last couple days as you're leading into a race, just have a water bottle, preferably with some electrolytes in it, and just be sipping on that all day. It's all the more important when you're racing out there in the desert to do that. Limit time on your feet. So you've got enough time going to be spent on your feet on race day. So in those days leading into the race, limit the time that you're up walking around. Again, that's why I recommend checking in and doing that earlier in your trip so that you can get that out of the way. Same thing with dropping off the bike and gear bags. Do it earlier in the day so you can spend the rest of the afternoon on the couch, not out there trying to take care of logistics. Be sure to read the athlete guide. So, speaking of logistics, this race is a little bit different with the split transitions. There's a decent amount going on here, and you really want to be familiar with the rules, with the procedures, with the layout. The better accustomed you are, and the more educated you are, the better off that you're going to be. And then just some personal tips here: while you are in St. George, get some ice cream from Handles and some coffee from Feel Love. Both of those are top-notch places. Can't recommend either of them enough. Just a neat experience to both. So amazing ice cream and some really good coffee there while you are in St. George. All right, race morning. Again, we have some logistics to deal with here. So you're going to start downtown. This is going to be T2 finish line area. So this is where you're going to start. This is where you're going to park. There is no parking for athletes or spectators out there at the lake. So everyone is going to be starting there downtown. There is a shuttle to Sand Hollow State Park. Keep in mind, this is a 30 plus minute ride to the lake. I would say it's probably about 30 minutes if you were driving yourself in the car, but these shuttles just go a little bit, they take a little bit longer. So, recommendation there is to be sure that you're building in plenty of time to get down there to that T2 finish line area, get parked, get over to the shuttle, and then make sure you've got plenty of time to do what you need to do once you arrive at the lake. So you don't want to be rushed, you don't want to be stressed. My recommendation there is again, get down there with plenty of time. So that you can just be calm, get everything done, no worries. You will have a morning clothes bag. So chances are it's going to be pretty cool on race morning. So this morning clothes bag will allow you to wear some warmer clothes down there to the swim start. Keep those on for a while. Those bags will be dropped somewhere down there in that T1 start area, and they will transport those bags back to you at the finish line. So if there's anything that you want to have after the race, you can also pack it in that bag and it will be returned to you at the finish. Spectators can ride that shuttle down there to the lake. Athletes will be given priority. So just keep that in mind. Again, no parking for athletes or spectators down there at the lake. If someone is wanting to go down there to the lake, they will need to ride that shuttle, but that is available to spectators as well. All right. The swim start is a self seated rolling start. So you will queue up by your estimated swim time, and then they will have a couple athletes at a time headed into the water. It's just a nice, easy entry there. It is the entry and exit is a boat ramp. So basically, you're just going to kind of wade in there slowly. So it's not like a jump off a pier or anything like that. This will allow you to kind of get in as quickly or as slowly as you would like. So you're just going to walk down that ramp, and eventually it'll kind of drop off and get a little bit deeper. So, some tips for the swim start. Get queued early. Already talked about that. Oftentimes, those queues are in these corrals and they get really crowded. So, if you are entering the very back of that chute, and say you're a 35-minute swimmer, you may need to work your way through 1,000 other athletes that are queued up in those slower times. So that can be a hassle. It's again, it's not conducive to going out there and just having a great race. So my recommendation is to get queued up early, get in that line. So one, you're not having to walk through everyone. Um, And then don't queue slower than expected. So I'm not necessarily saying queue faster than you think you're going to swim, but definitely don't queue slower. It's going to be advantageous for you to be swimming with those athletes that are swimming as at least as fast as you. You'll get some drafting benefit. There'll be less contact when you guys are in a comparable pace. So if you're slower than expected, you're going to be having more contact, swimming over more people. Really prioritize that. And again, getting down there early, getting in that queue early, you're going to be able to do that better. This is going to be a little bit different for each person as how they tolerate that cold water. Again, this is why we want to practice in advance. So know how you respond to cold water. The earlier, the better you can figure this out. The better you can strategize, the better off you're going to be. So chances are the water temperature is going to be somewhere in the upper 50s. That's where it was. I believe maybe it warmed into the low 60s last year, but still pretty cold by most people's standards. So some handle that better than others. I was there for the World Championship last year, and there were several people coming out of that water that were hypothermic. They did have a warming tent, and everyone was taken care of. But again, you're not going to have a great race when you come out of there in a very cold state. So do what you need to do to stay warm on the swim. So obviously, this is going to play into your wetsuit selection, whether you go sleeveless or full sleeved. But then there's some other things you can do. So consider a latex swim cap. So those are those ones that are a little bit thicker, more than the ones they just give out at the race course, and or even a neoprene cap. So those are ones you can buy those. They're made specifically for swimming. They go under the swim cap that you'll have for the race. Those cover the ears and can assist with that. Earplugs is another thing that can help. So just keeping that cold water out of your ears can help with your equilibrium and help just kind of have a perception of being warmer. And then this here is one of my favorite top tips, and I think this is something that this can be a game changer. I've been using this for years, recommending this for years, and it really makes sense when you think about it. Prime your wetsuit. Now, a vast majority of everyone before the swim starts is going to prime their swimsuit, their wetsuit, by going to the bathroom. They're going to pee in that wetsuit, and that's going to do a great job of providing some nice warmth for everything below the waist. But the way that wetsuit works is by warming that very thin layer of water that is going to be between your body and the neoprene. So it's not a dry suit; it is a wetsuit. It is intended to have water on the inside. So by priming your wetsuit with some water, a decent amount, that is going to allow you to warm that water, especially in your upper body, prior to entering into the water. So if you are just running down that boat ramp and diving into that, say, 59-degree water, that means 59-degree water is going to be going into your suit, and your body is then going to have to warm that 59-degree water until it is, kind of at its normalized critical mass temperature. What we want to do by priming the suit is take anywhere, I would say, one or two water bottles and pour a lot of that water down the neck of your suit and get as much of the inside of your suit saturated with water. I would say 5 to 10 minutes before you plan to enter in. And then having that room temperature water go in there and be priming your suit, now your body is very easily going to warm that water to where you'll be comfortable. You'll be a little cool when you first do it. You'll probably do a little dance, but that's fine. You're going to be much more comfortable as you enter into the water and do it. I've done this at races like Escape from Alcatraz and others that are notorious for some of those cold water swims, and it really does make a difference. Also, splash your face with cold water. That is oftentimes what triggers that fight or flight response in a lot of people. This can trigger some of those panic attacks is when your face hits the cold water. So just by splashing some cold water on your face, even as you're entering in, maybe this means getting off to the side a little bit and just pouring some of that cold water over your head, just again, exposing your body to it a little bit slower than just diving headfirst and going all in. That sometimes can trigger that fight or flight in there. So just some cold water on your face before going all in. And then this is easier said than done, but don't panic. There are some things we can do here to control that. It is fairly common, even among established triathletes that have a lot of experience in open water, especially with all the excitement of race day. You're hitting that cold water. Panic attacks do happen. So if they do, just do your best to stay calm, get ahead of yourself, remind yourself that you're okay. Especially in that wetsuit, it's going to be very difficult to go under the water. Get off to the side if you're still on the boat ramp, or get to the closest kayak, and then from there just breathe, settle in. And one thing you do are some sink downs. So sink downs are just going under the water, exhaling, and then coming back up. Again, what we're doing here is reminding the body that we're okay. It's just getting acclimated to kind of that feeling of being in the water. It's exposing yourself to it in a very controlled environment. So, sure, this is going to slow you down a little bit. It's going to take a little bit of time, but you're much better off doing like some sink downs early on, or splashing that cold water in your face so that you can go and swim and actually swim according to your pace, as opposing to having to deal with some of these issues throughout. So, again, a lot of this has to do with the fact that we're dealing with cold water. So, the more you can do prior to the race to set yourself up for success, the better off you're going to be. The swim course is real simple. It's just a triangle. So you'll swim out, make approximately a 90-degree turn, and then your next turn is a little bit tighter as you head back. So not a whole lot to the swim course. Two turns, one loop. Not a whole lot to it. The water is nice. It is clear. It is clean. It is going to be a really enjoyable swim for you. So, a couple tips for this swim course. Consider the sunrise when choosing your goggles. So, as you can see, that first segment is largely to the east. That is going to be into the sunrise once the sun peaks over those beautiful mountains. So, if you are able to get in a practice swim prior to the race, go down there at the time you're expected to start, and see exactly where that sun is, how it affects you. Test out those goggles to make sure that you are able to see good, you can sight clearly, and not have any issues from there. Whatever race you're doing, I always recommend breaking it into segments. How do you eat the elephant? One bite at a time. So, this 1.2 mile swim, my recommendation here is to break the course into thirds. As I mentioned, there are three segments. So you have this first longer segment to the first turn buoy, then a little bit shorter segment to the second, and then you're headed home. So your objective in that first part of the course is just to get to that first turn buoy. From there, you have a little bit of a shorter. It's probably half or less the distance of that segment that you've already done. And then once you make that second turn, now you're headed home. Every stroke is taking you closer to that swim exit. So make it manageable, break it down. Sight often. There's nothing that will slow you down more than swimming crooked, swimming longer distance than we need to. So, how do you mitigate that? By sighting often. There are some opportunities here with the buoys, with some peaks on the horizon. So, sight often. Once you are approaching the swim exit, recommendation is to swim until you touch that boat ramp. What you'll see is a lot of folks, they've been out there swimming for anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes, and you're probably tired of swimming. You're ready to get back vertical and start moving the way God intended. But it is going to be more difficult for you to walk or run through the water if you get, say, waist deep, knee deep. It's going to be more difficult, require more energy, or give you a higher heart rate if you're running through that water, as opposed to continuing to swim just a few more strokes. So just keep swimming, keep swimming until when you're taking that stroke, your fingers are touching that boat ramp. Then that's the time to stand up and exit the swim and have a lot of fun. Again, this is an enjoyable swim. It is a beautiful place. The park, the lake, the mountains on the horizon, the crystal clear water. It really is something special. So make sure to take it in and really enjoy the swim. As we can see here, just a triangle, not a whole lot to it. As I mentioned, beautiful mountains on the horizon, nice clear water. Basically, it's an out, over, and back. Not a whole lot to it. Just going to be a fun, fast swim. And then down here on the bottom, you can see where we are headed into the transition area. So, nice big parking lot, lots of racks, plenty of space. So you'll head into that transition area. There's kind of a channel that you'll come out of the swim exit and then head along the transition area and then dump you into your bike. So, a couple tips for transition: be efficient and pack minimally. These kind of go together. What we want to do is keep the amount of things that we have to do and the things we have to keep up with to a minimum. So a little bit different here. You're going to have your bags, so you're going to have to kind of pack minimally, and practice in advance. Know exactly what it is that you're going to be doing. You're going to be putting on your helmet, obviously, and then from there, what is it? Are you putting on socks, putting on your shoes, all those kinds of things? Is there nutrition that you're going to be packing in a pocket or something like that? Practice those in advance. Know exactly what are the steps that you need to do to complete your transition as quickly and as easily as possible. And then consider a go bottle. This is another one of my favorite tips. Um, you've been in the water again, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 60 minutes, and probably did not take in any nutrition or hydration during that time. So you're going to be starting off the bike in a little bit of a deficit. So I'm sure you had great breakfast and were sipping on a bottle as you were waiting to start. But over the last 30 to 60 minutes, you haven't taken in anything, but you've been expending both hydration and energy. So we need to get that back. So a go bottle is just what I do is I have a bottle. My T1 is kind of small. I have about 6 ounces of water. I have a single serving of my calories in there, and then some electrolytes as well. So I use a wide mouth bottle that is real easy to pour. I can pour it out real quick, chug it down quickly. And so what that's going to do is just give me a little bit of a priming. So I'm going to get a shot of my hydration, a shot of my calories, a shot of my electrolytes, and that is then going to get me started as I head out onto the bike course. So, speaking of the bike course, arguably one of the most beautiful bike courses on the Ironman circuit. It really is. It is unique in this kind of desert terrain, but really is beautiful. It is challenging. It's going to be fun. So you guys are in for a really great experience. So, point to point bike, where it's going to start here at the lake. You're going to exit out of the lake. There's a small out and back here. Then come around the backside of the lake up to the north, another little out and back this way. And then we're going to start this longer east to west segments along here as we head out towards Snow Canyon. Going to cross over here. So we're coming straight and go by Snow Canyon for another little out and back and then head north. So this section right here, once we turn north, this is right entering into Snow Canyon State Park. And this is going to be headed up here. You can kind of see these mountains that not necessarily covered in snow. They are a white color though. That's where the Snow Canyon name comes from. Going to get up to the top and then fly all the way back down into the downtown area, headed into T2. So no one is going to call this bike course flat. It is rolling with several climbs, so very few flat sections on this course. And again, there are a few steeper, longer climbs that you need to be aware of. But even in those times in between the flats, and all, you're going to be going up and down. Generally, the roads are in really good condition, which is great. So that's a plus. So definitely good quality roads, which is nice. And then keep in mind you will be exposed to the wind and the sun out there. So again, we're in the deserts and the mountains, not a whole lot of trees out there, and what trees there are probably shorter than your bike. So you are going to be pretty exposed to everything out there on the course. So take that into consideration, especially for the fair skinned ones, and make sure you're using sunscreen or covering your skin. To help with the heat acclimation and then sunburns, things like that as well. So, as mentioned, there are several climbs out there. I think there are five notable climbs that you need to be aware of. The first climb is it's about mile 4 to mile 5, so it's about a mile long. You're going to have in that time or in that distance 266 feet of gain with an average grade of 4.6%. So this is pretty steep. It is actually the steepest of these, but it's about a mile long. So again, definitely not a short climb. Definitely relatively steep. So know that that's coming. And again, this is 4 to 5 miles in on the bike course. So this is probably only about 10 to 15 minutes in on the bike. You're going to experience this first climb, and it again is kind of here on the backside of the lake. So you've come out, got a little opportunity here to kind of settle in, get some hydration, nutrition, all that. But then right here on the backside of the lake, this is where that first mile long climb at 4.6% grade is going to be. Once you've kind of come out of that, again up, out and back, and then you're going to experience your second significant climb from miles 14 to 16. So this is a 2 mile climb. And over those 2 miles, you're going to have 340 feet of gain with an average grade of 2.9%. So again, pretty decent grade here, and you're going to be experiencing that for 2 miles. So a pretty decent distance on that as well. A little bit further down the road, we're going to head into climb 3. This is from miles 20 to 21, 250 feet of gain with an average also of 2.9%. So this one's kind of similar to climb number 2. It's just not as long. It's about a mile as opposed to climb number 2 being about 2 miles. Going to loop up and down, and we're going to experience the fourth climb. This is a 2 mile climb between miles 28 and mile 30. In that distance, going to cover 369 feet of elevation gain, 3.2% average grade. So this is right around the very famous Dixie Rock up there that overlooks downtown St. George. It's just that white paint where it says Dixie. That is going to be right in this area. So you're probably familiar with that, and maybe something to kind of keep you busy. Once you see that, you'll ride right underneath it. It's pretty cool. So just know that you're in the area of this climb number 4 once you see that the Dixie Rock up there. Then I'm going to come cross over again up here, out and back. And then, probably as you are aware, climb number 5 is the Snow Canyon climb. That is really kind of what this course is known for. So pretty quickly after you do this out and back and then turn north, you're going to begin to experience this climb. It is. I'm going to argue that there's enough beautiful scenery around that you might not even notice that this is a 4 mile climb. It goes from about mile 41 to 45, and it is almost 900 feet of gain in 4 miles. So what some 70.3 courses cover in 56, or maybe even Ironman courses in 112 miles, you guys are going to be covering that in approximately 4 miles. I would be willing to bet that the Ironman Florida 112-mile bike course probably only has about 895 feet of elevation gain on the whole 112 miles. So again, Snow Canyon in just 4 miles is that same amount of gain. Average grade is 4.4%. So it is the second steepest on there, and again is the longest. Now that said, when I first saw it, I had heard of Snow Canyon for years, and it's kind of notorious for being this very difficult climb. I was first time I was exposed to it, I was in a car. So we drove in, and I was kind of like, this is not what I was expecting. You know, I was expecting this just sheer wall that was going to be very, very difficult to climb, and I don't want to understate it. It is a long, challenging climb, but it is manageable. So I hosted a training camp out in St. George last year. We had cyclists of all abilities, and everyone that was in our group was able to climb this. Now, some obviously took longer than others, but everyone made it to the top. And these were not all elite level cyclists by any means. So again, go and check it out, put eyes on it, know exactly what you're in store for. I would definitely recommend driving the course just so you know exactly what this looks like, especially if you're super intimidated or scared of this climb. Go look at it. It's not as bad as you may be afraid. And again, it's breathtaking, beautiful scenery, which I think you're really going to enjoy. And then Of course, what goes up must come down. As soon as you make this U-turn up here at the top, this is a great descent of about 11 miles, so plenty of time where you're not going to have to be working all that hard. So yeah, you're kind of doing all the work through the first 45 miles of the course, and then kind of coasting in, or at least taking it a little bit easier as you go from the top of Snow Canyon back into the transition area. So, a couple tips for managing the bike course. As just mentioned, be familiar with the course. Definitely go drive this. So, you have to go out to the lake on Friday to drop your bike and your gear bag. So, my recommendation is just while you're out there doing that, go ahead and follow the route. And the intent here is to know exactly what it is that you're in store for. Again, I've kind of identified those 5 climbs as more notable, but again, this whole course is at least rolling. Very, very, very few flat stretches of course out there, and that's a different definition for everyone. I live on the Texas Gulf Coast. My area where I ride is pancake flat, so kind of my definition of rolling and steep climbs and that sort of thing may be different than yours. So go out there and see exactly what you're in store for. Keep an eye on the climbs, but also the descents. So where are these descents in relation to things like aid stations or turns? Are there anything that you need to be aware of? Anything that could cause issues? Over the weekend, we had Ironman Texas. Very non-technical, very flat, very few turns on that course, but there were numerous wrecks out there. So again, it doesn't take a whole lot to kind of put you in some peril. So be aware of what you're going to experience on race day and have a plan for everything. So definitely go out there and drive it, take it in, enjoy it. Have the proper gearing. Know that if, like me, you do most of your riding in flats and you've got a very aggressive cassette, very aggressive front ring, you may need to maybe go talk to your bike shop, let them know that you're going to be doing some climbing, and you may need to adjust your gearing. What you don't want to do is get out there and run out of gears when you're halfway up Snow Canyon, and then really just have to grind it out on your up there. Something I don't have written down here, but kind of along those same lines, make sure that if you have electronic shifting, make sure that your batteries are charged. I would say go ahead and put them on the charger now. That way, they're full, and regardless of how much riding you do between now and race day, they're still going to have plenty of juice for what will be the numerous shifts that will be required of them come race day. But what we don't want is for those batteries to die halfway through, and then have your super fast, awesome bike turn into a single speed, which would be either not conducive for going up, going down, or both. Settle in those first few miles. So we already talked about how that first climb is going to be approximately 4 to 5 miles in, I believe it was. So you've got a little bit of time. Yeah, we said somewhere in that maybe 12 to 15 minutes once you exit transition, hop on your bike. And get going. Again, it's not pancake flat for those first 4 miles, but you don't have that first really hard climb. So take advantage there to kind of settle in. You've gone through the swim, you've gone through transition, settle in those first few miles, and then you'll hit that first climb. Be patient on the climbs. So there's obviously different strategies for attacking these climbs. How do you execute? Do you take it easy the whole way and attack on the backside? Do you attack the hill and then recover on the backside? Again, there's a lot of different smart people who will say different things. My recommendation is to um, come in with momentum and kind of divide that climb into thirds. So you're using your momentum up for perhaps that first third of the climb. Second is you're starting to kind of run out of steam, but just kind of be patient there and don't start pushing yet. Once you kind of get towards the end of that is when you can begin to mash the gears, maybe create a little higher wattage. That way, you're not really working through that entire length of that hill. You can work real hard and push, 50% higher wattage as you're climbing that hill, and you're really not going to go all that much more faster. You're going to use a lot more energy. You're going to burn up your legs much quicker by doing that. So be patient in there. If you get passed by a couple folks, no problem. Don't worry about that. And then once you begin to crest and head down, again, that is where you can kind of take advantage of gravity, and begin to spin it out and regain some of that time as you head back down. Use those recoveries on the downside, to allow the heart rate to settle down. Depending on how fast you're going, how technical it is, again, you're going to know because you went out and saw it. Are there any twists or turns on that downhill? This is a good time to take in nutrition, hydration, that sort of thing, and again, just allow the body to recover because you got a couple more of these climbs to come up. So make sure that you are managing your effort as you're doing one of these higher effort climbs. Make sure you're offsetting that with some recovery on the backside. Find those flatter sections to eat or drink. Again, it's very difficult to get in your nutrition, your hydration, all of that when you're headed up a 4% climb for 2 miles. So you may go for stretches that your regular nutrition protocol may be maybe a sip off the bottle every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes. Well, that may be interrupted by some pretty significant climbs here. So again, use those opportunities as they arise to get in your nutrition, get in your hydration, and make sure that you're staying ahead. Again, we're out here in the desert. It's going to be very dry. The last thing you want to do is get dehydrated out there because you got behind on your eating and drinking. So stay ahead of that. When you have the opportunity to do so, make sure to take it in. All right, headed into T2. Looks a lot like T1 with the same tips. Be efficient, pack minimally, practice in advance. Know exactly what it is that you're going to do in T2 so that you can get in and get out quickly. And then here, I'm even probably a bigger fan of having that go bottle. For here, I will take a little bit more. So again, when in T1, my go bottle usually has about 6 ounces of water in it. I'll kind of double that and go more like 12 ounces of water. Sometimes, if I'm really thirsty and I'm feeling really good, if my stomach is doing well, I may just chug that 12 ounces as I am going on towards the run out of transition. Uh, if maybe I'm already well up on my nutrition and hydration, um, and my stomach isn't maybe feeling quite as so good, I will nurse that bottle over maybe the first mile, first 2 miles, whatever the case may be. But it's good to know, regardless of where the aid stations are set up, I've got hydration, I've got nutrition, I've got electrolytes there with me. So it's just a great thing to ensure that you stay up on those. All right, headed out onto the run course. It is a two-loop course. It's pretty simple. It's kind of almost an out and back. It is uphill out. So as you head to the north, you're going to be headed up kind of back where you came from. So those last several miles that provided some nice, easy, fun downhill riding. Effectively, you're going to be headed up in that same direction. So running up the hill, kind of from where you came from on the bike. And then the good news is you're headed back downhill as you turn around. So again, what goes up comes down. There are three what I would refer to as kind of distinct segments, sections of this course. You're going to start off headed to the northwest there along Diagonal Street. It's a diagonal line, so even on the map here, it's really easy to spot which section of the course is Diagonal Street. This is largely a residential area. For me, it's deceptively long, but you may love it. Then, kind of as you head into the north, you will eventually head out onto the golf course, which is a pretty unique opportunity there. There are a few other courses that integrate golf courses, but just it's gorgeous, it's neat, it's fun, it's something different than just the houses you've been running by on Diagonal Street. You make your way around there, back down Diagonal Street, and then to the section I refer to as the downtown area. This is again as you approach the finish line, approach kind of the out and back that you'll be doing. It becomes obviously it goes from golf course to more residential to more urban downtown area. So kind of three distinct areas that you'll be running through. Really, not only each lap, but even each section of the lap. So, like everything else, recommend attacking the course in sections. So, as you head out of transition, make that left turn around. So, this roundabout right here, that's kind of out of transition, the finish line, this cross here. This is that famous big M.dot logo that is there in a roundabout. So, you'll come out of transition, head to the north. And then you'll head out there onto Diagonal Street. So, objectively, this is what I'm thinking. My objective is to run this stretch along Diagonal Street. Once I have finished that, I'm going to head out onto the golf course. Now I am managing running around the golf course. Then back down Diagonal Street, knowing that I've got a little bit of an out and back kind of loop through the downtown area. And then we got to do it all over because it is a 2-loop course. So as you are doing these things on the first loop, kind of take note and know things like, where are the steeper sections, where are the aid stations. It always helps me, kind of makes that second loop easier, just knowing exactly what I'm in store for, knowing where my family is, where my teammates are, where the energetic aid stations are. All that gives you something to look forward to. So again, even during the race, you're doing some recon to set yourself up for success as you come back down Diagonal Street. You're going to be doing that Diagonal Street 4 times. So that first time out, learn it, get intimate with it, and again, know where the fun sections are, know where the not so fun sections are, know where the aid stations are, all of that. And especially when you come around for that second loop, your body's going to be fatigued. But again, you know exactly what you're in store for. You've got a great strategy, and you've got those things to look forward to. So break it down into sections. Make sure to drive the arms on the steep uphills. The lower body is going to do what the upper body is doing. So, one thing that you can really do to ensure that you are driving your legs, especially on those uphill sections, is to concentrate on driving your arms. Make sure that one thing I do to keep ensure that my arms are aligned is thumbs up. So oftentimes what we'll see is a bit of a twist with the arms, kind of going laterally back and forth. That can only be done when, or is more naturally done when the thumbs are pointing towards each other. But thumbs up, like the Fonz, giving everybody thumbs up. Keep those thumbs up. That's going to keep your elbows in and really allow you to drive your arms, which in turn is going to drive your legs, drive your knees. That's going to help you get up those climbs easier, more efficiently, and quicker. Gravity is definitely going to help on the way down, but there is kind of a nuance art to running downhill. Keep in mind that those downhill stretches are going to be tough on the quads, the knees, and your feet. So especially if you have issues with your knees, issues with your feet, the impact is going to be higher as you're coming down. Make sure that you are aware of that and mitigating that as you come down. I've said it several times, but it's all the more important. Out here towards the end of the race. You've been out there for several hours at this point, and especially on that first loop, you got an hour or more probably to go. So it is critical to stay hydrated. I've said it before, but again, I believe it cannot be understated. And part of staying hydrated is also staying up on your electrolytes. So make sure that you're taking care of that as well. Kind of almost dovetailed with this, and equally important is staying cool. So you are going to be racing out in the desert. It's probably going to be a nice, cool morning, but it is going to heat up by the time you're out there on the run course. Chances are. So once your core temperature begins to exceed a certain point, your body is going to limit what it is putting out. So you are asking a lot of your body by going out there and running a half marathon at whatever pace it is that you're trying to run. If your core temperature begins to elevate, your body's going to begin to say no. So make sure that you are also utilizing a cooling protocol. Part of that is staying hydrated. As you get more and more dehydrated, your core temperature naturally rises. So staying cool means staying hydrated. From there, taking advantage of ice and cold towels, cold sponges, whatever is available out there on the course. Be sure to take advantage of those. So I say, as you're going through that aid station, make sure I always dump cold water over my face, over my head, and then I shove ice everywhere, and then I eat ice as well. So what we want to do here is cool the body from the outside. So that's pouring the water over your head, dumping ice down your jersey, down your shorts, under your cap, or even can shove that ice to cool the body from the outside. And then again, drinking cold water, drinking cold Gatorade or whatever it is that you're using, and then chewing on ice as well can also help control that body temperature from the inside. So kind of that internal and external core temperature approach to staying cool, and then covering skin also as you're able to. So maybe it's something like cooling sleeves, cap, visor, just to limit the amount of the sun that is going to be hitting down on you. Always recommend taking something from every aid station. So it may not be nutrition or hydration, but again, kind of like I just said, take the ice, take the cold water as you're coming through those aid stations. Take something from everyone. You paid a lot of money to be in this race, so take advantage of that stuff that is there. And again, things like that. You can't do enough. It's really hard to pour too much water or shove too much ice down your kit in an environment like this. So every aid station, just take something and know that you've helped yourself out, and then plan your aid stations. So know what it is as you're approaching that aid station. What do you need? What is it time for? Do you need water? Do you need Gatorade? Do you need fruit or gel or whatever it is? Whatever it is for you, as you begin to approach that aid station, plan it out and know that it's been 20 minutes since I took a gel, and I'm due for another gel in this aid station. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to take a gel. I'm going to take some water, or maybe you just took one on the last aid station, so I'm good. I feel like I'm good on energy. I'm up on my plan. So in this next aid station, I'm just going to take a cup of water and pour it over my head and some ice to go down my jersey. Plan it out, and then again, knowing as you go up Diagonal Street the first time, you'll know exactly where they are. As you come back, you know where those aid stations are going to be, and then on the second loop, you're going to know exactly where those are. So it's a great opportunity to really know in advance. I've got that aid station coming up. It's right around this turn. It's right at the top of that hill, and at that aid station, I'm going to do this, this, and this. So plan out those aid stations. Take everything or take something from every aid station, and then feed on the energy. Great crowd support. There are a lot of folks that come out. Some of the residents there along Diagonal Street will be out there cheering, especially downtown. Great environment. Feed on that energy. It is, I would say, downright mean to put you that close to the finish line as you're approaching the end of that first loop. But the good part is, there's going to be a lot of energy down there. A lot of folks. It's going to be a lot of fun. So feed off that energy. As you come into that downtown area and go through those sections, and then help your fellow athletes. There's just something to this. We're in it together, and this is one of the things that I think makes triathlon kind of unique, in that we really do have a spirit of camaraderie and community. Do something out there to help your fellow athletes. And one thing I've found is if my day is not going as expected, I can really turn that around when I kind of get outside of myself and really start investing in those other athletes that are around me. Maybe it's sharing a gel or something like that. Maybe not sharing the actual gel itself, but maybe giving one of your gels away or something like that, or even just a word of encouragement, a word of advice. Make some friends out there on the race course, and do whatever you can to make someone else's race all the more better. So, as I mentioned, that stretch along the golf course is really cool. In for a treat. This is going to be a nice little break from the hard path roads that you're going to be running on. Again, mentioned that the downhill is going to be kind of tough on the quads, the knees, the feet. Running across these fairways going to provide a little bit of relief from that. So, nice mix of that, but really take that in and enjoy it. And as a golfer, I would say try not to do too much damage to the golf course. All right, headed into the finish. Clean up. So what I mean by clean up is, over the past 70.2 miles or wherever it's been, who knows? You've got gels and sports drinks and snot and blood and all that, and your hair is a mess. But you're about to come into the finishing chute, and there's going to be some pictures, and this will probably end up on your Facebook or Instagram for the next several months. So clean up a little bit, wipe your nose, and zip up the kit, and just get ready for a fantastic last 100 yards as you come around the big Ironman statue structure there in that roundabout and head to the finish. Be sure to take it all in. Again, you've been out there for hours and hours. You've raced 70.2.9 miles to this point, and you've got a ton of people cheering for you. It's like, how often as adults do we get to hear these crowds cheering for us and really recognizing these accomplishments? So be sure to take it in and enjoy it. Plan your finish. What I mean by this is for some, you're doing everything you can to get across that finish line as quickly as possible. Maybe you're vying for a world champion slot. So yeah, I get it. If you want to sprint down that carpet and get across that finish line as quickly as possible, go for it. I would say if not, take it in and enjoy it. This again is kind of what you work for. It's fun to cross that finish line. I'm okay with taking maybe another 5 to 10 seconds off my time, just to kind of hang out in there, listen for my name to be called, give all the high fives. For me, that's all part of the experience. That makes it all the more memorable, all the more enjoyable. So do what it is that that will help you get the most from it, enjoy it all the more. All right, that is what I've got. I hope all of that was informative. I hope it was beneficial. Got a couple questions here queued up, a couple more popping up. So again, any questions that I didn't cover, feel free to go ahead and enter those in there on that GoToWebinar widget. And again, I'm going to get to as many as I can. We're coming up on time, not a ton of time left here. But again, ask any questions in there. I will respond to you via email. One question I already see is that asking, will there be a replay? Yes. A replay of this will be sent out. I will do my best to get it out to everyone tomorrow, and then that will come from my personal email address. So if you have a question that you don't get to enter, or maybe a question that comes up in the next couple days, next week even, just feel free to reply to that email, and I'll get back with you as soon as possible. I am glad to answer any questions that I can. If I don't know the answer, I will do everything I can to point you in the right direction. So my email is john@tribetraining.net. So feel free to shoot me an email or just reply to the replay that will go out. And yeah, feel free to share that on social media, share it with your friends, whoever you think will benefit from that. More than happy to make this resource available to everyone. So yeah, go ahead and keep those questions coming. And I will get into these. Okay, first question. How long miles does the hardest hill climb in the bike portion last? So we largely talked about that already. The longest section is Snow Canyon. It is also the last. It's the end. It's kind of the end of the work. So it's about 4 miles at 4% grade. And once you get to the top, you're basically kind of gravity assisted for those last several miles of the race headed into T2. Does the T2 open early on race morning to drop off some last minute items before we get into the shuttle to go to T1? This was a question that was asked in advance, and unfortunately, I don't have a good answer for you. I looked in the athlete guide, I looked on the schedule. I did not see anything that addressed this. So you will drop off that run gear bag the day before at T2. Normally we're using these bike gear and run gear bags more than an Ironman race as opposed to a 70.3. The rule of thumb in those Ironman events is that you will have access to those bags on race morning. So my assumption slash hope would be that you could, if you're going to drop off maybe your run nutrition in that run gear bag on the morning of, that you would have availability of those bags. I don't want to go as far as to say yes, you will definitely have access to them. So maybe that's something they will address in the athlete briefings on site, or maybe that's something to ask one of the officials there. My assumption would be that you would have access to the bag, but again, I don't want to tell you that you will, and then you get down there and you've got your run nutrition and you can't put it in your bag. So I would say, sorry, I don't have a great answer for you, but follow up with that once you're on site there. How do I sight on the swim? So Uh, Obviously, the most practical is buoy to buoy. As we saw on the course, it is three straight lines. So effectively, you're just going from buoy to buoy. For me, that also breaks it down into even smaller, more manageable segments. So not only am I just doing maybe that first the section from the start to the first turn buoy, but maybe it's even just buoy to buoy, especially if kind of depending on how the conditions are. Additionally, there will be some opportunities to sight on the horizon. So again, depending on where the sun is in relation to where you are, it may be difficult to sight on the horizon as the sun is just peeking over those mountains. It's going to be beautiful, but it may be a bit blinding, especially as you're swimming in your goggles. Make sure your goggles are appropriate for that. But there may be some opportunities on the way out. Great horizon with some things you can pick out to swim towards, and then on the way back, similar. And then of course you'll have your swim exit arch there that will be a little bit easier to see, especially once you kind of get to the second half of that segment, get a little bit closer. You'll hear the announcer, you'll hear the crowd side off those buoys, side off the mountains on the horizon, and that big swim exit inflatable. So plenty of opportunities. I would say not particularly difficult. The biggest thing is just going to be where is the sun in relation to where it is that you are where you're swimming. Any tips for climbing? Yeah, this is something we talked about a little bit as well. Everyone is a little bit different in this. Everyone has different abilities, different skill level. So I would say that's a big part of it. Know who you are as far as a cyclist. Are you a strong cyclist? Are you a strong hill climber? Then go for it. This is a great course for you. You've got opportunities to make up time that maybe you haven't had while racing flatter courses in the past. So if you are a weaker cyclist, maybe not as experienced in the hills, maybe you don't have the bike handling skills that some of the other cyclists do, be conservative, be cautious, hold back a little bit. And I would say going up and going down. I would say especially be cognizant on these sections where you're going real slow. Maybe Snow Canyon, you maybe only be going 6-7 miles an hour, if that. There may be some faster cyclists coming before you, so stay to the right. Cyclists, as you're passing, especially on those climbs, make sure to holler out on your left. Be in communication with those other cyclists out there, so we avoid any accidents. And then kind of same thing on these descents. Some of these descents are going to be pretty darn fast. Some are going to be white knuckled and riding their brakes and nervous going down. Others are going to be spinning out in their smallest gear, tucked into the most air position they can find, screaming down those descents. So again, make sure that the slower people are staying to the right. If you're passing, make sure plenty of space over there to the left, plenty of communication. Let them know in advance that they're coming. We don't want any surprises, any collisions, that sort of thing. So, in addition to those things we talked about earlier on how technically to climb and descent, make sure you're staying in communication with with those other cyclists around you to just be courteous and make sure that everyone is safe. Will there be a pre-swim warm up? Not that I am aware of. Again, this is something that could change, but from recollection and from what I saw, I did not see anything about a pre-swim warm up in the guide. That's not really something that is typically offered. It is sometimes. So I would say don't count on a pre-race swim warm up. If it is, great. I would definitely recommend taking advantage of that. What we can do to help offset that is again just prime the wetsuit. Take 2 or 3 room temperature bottles with you, and as you're queued up about to head into the water, pour that lukewarm water down the suit, and that's going to go a long way in helping with that. It won't necessarily warm up your muscles. Of course, you can do that with even just a little bit of maybe stretch bands. Maybe it's just some body weight movements, that sort of thing. Some calisthenic type things to get you warmed up. Whatever it is that you need to do, whatever it is that your normal protocol, go through it before the race. Coming up in here on time, I'm going to get to a couple more. Thanks again for all your questions. Again, I'm going to do 2 more. If I have not answered your question yet, I will respond to you via email. How steep is the run course? Again, kind of a relative term here, how steep. Basically, it is a climb all the way to that U-turn point as you are headed north. It is it's not a real steep. It can almost be, some may even refer to it as a false flat, but there is a considerable amount of climbing in that stretch from kind of the Ironman roundabout up to the top of the golf course, and then you're coming back down. So again, I would say go out and see it, know what it is. There are fewer. I would say it's a little smoother, if that's the right word, where it is a steadier climb than the bike is. The bike is kind of rolling up and down. This is kind of a straighter. Less noticeable grade, and so again, it's not as noticeable as going up a 3 or 4% grade. There may be a few sections, especially around the park, where we get into some of those steeper sections, but like diagonal, you can pretty much see a really long way up and down diagonal, but it is that slight variance. But and then, are there bike and run gear bags? Yes. So again, kind of more like your traditional Ironman race where you have bike run gear bags. You're going to have those. They're going to provide you those at check-in with some instructions. And keep in mind, you're going to be dropping those the day before. So you'll have to take your bike and your bike gear bag to Sand Hollow, about a half hour out of downtown, and then you'll drop your run gear bag there at T2 in the downtown area. Any other questions on that, guys? Feel free to reach out. Again, my email is john@tribetraining.net. You'll have a replay that you can respond to in the coming days. I want to wish you guys the best of luck. I hope you have an amazing experience. This is a special race. Be sure to take it all in and have a great time. Thanks for your time this evening, and we'll see you out there on the course.